Test. Mic test. Making sure I'm coming in clean and hot. Hot. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2021. Wait. There was one track I wanted to play. I just wanted to hear it. I heard the intro earlier. I was like, let's get this one in. Camera on. Zapow. What up? I don't know about y'all, but welcome to 2021, the bigger, better, more enjoyable, more hardcore 2020, baby. Hi-ya! If you thought 2020 was wild, gear up, suit up, put your seatbelt on, because we're going to Mars. Hat's going on backwards for this. Hope y'all are ready. Hi. How's everybody doing? I hope you all had a good New Year. If you missed the opportunity to celebrate the New Year with me, I apologize. I didn't leave the house, but my wife put together a little Zoom event for us. That was actually pretty. It turned out to be a great time, as a matter of fact. So I had fun. I see a lot of names in here that I know were in there and ended up having a lot of fun. You had to follow me on Facebook in order to see it all happen. I don't know how it works. Okay. It's a little beyond me. Yes, Casey Turner, you can call me tomorrow. Feel free, big dog. Get in line, because everybody's getting fired up. It's 2021. Let's write twofers. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard. This is This is going to be the Lawn Care Help Desk. This is a live show I do every Sunday where I like to talk and share a little bit of my expertise with you, the viewer. No matter what your stage of the game is, let's just get it out there and see what we can unpack tonight. A little bit of my background. My background is Surfer Asset Management. But I've spent the majority of my career in lawn care. I realized that 20 was now. All right. Let me keep going on this playlist here. I'm having a good time with this. And so the way this typically works is this is an open format, meaning you ask questions, I provide answers. Now, a couple caveats there is that, number one, I'm fallible, I'm human, I do make mistakes. Second of all, I start at the top of the chat and work my way to the bottom. Now, if you're watching me, I'm on about a 20-second delay unless you're watching on Twitch. Twitch seems to have the shortest amount of time. The shortest amount of delay. So if you want to stream on Twitch, you can go to twitch.tv/thegrassfactor, or you can go to thegrassfactor.net, and that will have a live stream of the Twitch feed right there in your face. Of course, now I also do this on Facebook FaceCrack. You can go over to facebook.com/thegrassfactor and, of course, stream there. Pick your poison. I know my old boy Aldo Beltran likes to hop on over there to the Twitch stream. We got John John, I almost called you John J. Jastrzewski. What's up, John Jastrzewski? One of my favorite folks up in Joycey. He's a beach bum. Don't lie. This is another one of those things that I didn't realize until later in life that there were beach bums up in Jersey. I had no idea. I thought that was only like a California thing. Nah, it's everywhere. So like I said, I start at the top of the list and I work my way to the bottom. Please understand that if I miss your question, it was honestly a mistake, or I don't feel like getting into the topic because there may be something about that topic that's a little bit sensitive and I have to be careful what I say. I have a lot of fun doing this YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I get in trouble often with this YouTube channel. Boy, it happened last week. I can't get into specifics, but my goodness, I got absolutely reamed last week. But it's all right. It's not going to stop me. I don't care anymore. I survived 2020. I've got a new chip on my shoulder. F in the chat for everyone that survived 2020. And survived it positively. I know it was tough for a lot of people. It was tough for me included. You can ask my wife, you can ask my kids, you can ask everybody in my family. It was a hard 2020, but you know what? We're better men for it, ladies too. We survived, and we're going to have one badass 2021. You're going to have to get a lawyer to sit with you like Steven Crowder. I don't know what I'm going to need, but it's hilarious how mad people get over some of the things I say. This is one of the things I go back to. And listen, I'm very grateful for the platform I have. I'm very grateful for the viewers I have. I have a very niche YouTube channel. Very niche, right? I'm not for everybody, and I totally get that. I intentionally structure everything I talk about in such a way to be not for everybody. Only for the people that want to go a little bit further. I want to appeal to the people that have a little bit more of an obsessive compulsive tendency or that really care about figuring out why things are working a certain way, because that's the way I am. And so those are the kind of people I want to appeal to. And it's niche. But some people act like I carry a lot of power. And I'll tell you right now, I do not have any power. YouTube wields me no power. I've got a great friend network. I mean, I have made actual legitimately great friends through the YouTube thing. If friends here in the chat right now, and I'm seeing. But if you're concerned, I've got some kind of massive power over here. I don't, which I don't think it's anybody in the chat right now. I'm talking to people that may be lurking and not interacting. That may have some kind of weird thing. I don't know. Richard said I need a shot collar. Sometimes it feels that way. But I don't care. Like I said, I got a chip on my shoulder. I survived 2021. I'm not worried about it. That's a brutal thing to survive. So I'm just gonna run with it. You know what I'm saying? We shall continue to go hard in the paint. If Ryan DeMay is tuned in, FTP, my friend, FTP. All right. No, there's definitely nobody in this chat right now that didn't survive 2020. It was a joke. All right, so again, feel free to throw your questions into the chat, and we'll get going. So let's see. One of the early questions I had, and still, there's not a whole lot I can be talking about the Carbon Earth thing, other than Carbon Earth is out of business, right? So that's it. There was a countdown on the website at one point. It's gone and expired. I have no idea what's on the website right now at all, because I'm no longer in control of it or in possession of it. Nor do I. So yeah, I have no idea. Oh, I'm looking at it right now. The countdown is at 0. So, surprise, nothing's coming of it. Yeah. So if you have any question relating to that, there's not really going to be anything I can tell you other than Carbon Earth was done. Now, there's things that are going on outside of Carbon Earth, and some of that I can talk about privately. Some of it I cannot talk about publicly because of everything that went on and like why Carbon Earth is closed. And so I gotta be real careful with what goes on there. So that being said, yeah, Jason, I can't get into the specifics of it. But basically went to work one day and was told that, nope, it's not going to happen. Now there are plans there are plans that are in place for this year, for 2021. And so if you're freaking out, being like, oh, what am I going to do with my programs? I'll tell you right now, there's nothing you really need to, there's nothing you need to worry about. So if you would like, I can throw some links over in the chat, some reading material if you would like to do that. And by all means, feel free to reach out and make any kind of inquiries that you need to make, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Make any kind of inquiries that you need to, and someone somehow, some way will get you assisted. So here we go. Jason, I see you over there. I see you over there panicking. There's no reason to panic. Like I said, everything's going to be okay. We're all going to be all right. We're going to wake up one day in February and it's going to be like nothing ever happened. Everybody's going to be banging their head against the wall and be like, how did that happen? It was like nothing ever happened. How about that for some cryptic talk? Man, hey, look, we are at the start of the year. I know there's not a lot of grass things going on right now. I totally get that. Kind of in the background, some of the things, we've been working on internally, and you'll be seeing more about this on the, specifically the Subvert website coming up, this week is, our new product that we're going to be releasing called Subvert. Freudian slip. Getting choked here. Hang on one second. I did all that screaming. Is Prefix, a product called Prefix. And I teased a little bit on some social media pages. I've pulled that down for now. Don't worry. There will be more to do with that. I obviously, and I'm not saying everybody needs to do this. People that are members of the channel kind of have some inside baseball, what's going on. What's going on publicly will be released a little bit later this week, and we'll have pricing and things like that. So basically, what this product is going to be designed to do is an additive to your pre-emergent applications. I yanked my cord out of my headphones, so I can't hear myself right now, so it kind of freaks me out. But it's an additive to go with your pre-emergence that will power the plant through potential root pruning that can take place by applying a dinitroalanine. And when I say dinitroalanine, I'm talking about our DNA pre-emergence. So all of these are going to be in the same group. All of these are DNAs. And all of these are relatively aggressive root pruners of sorts. So I'm talking about pendimethalin. I'm talking about prodiamine. I'm talking about dithiapyr. And one of the ones that we actually have in trial right now is actually Spectacle 2. So all of those, we should have more data because now we're running trials on St. Augustine and also, of course, with the Spectacle. But at least for right now, at least everything that we have trial information on is going to be towards those three. And again, kind of the inside baseball thing is that a lot of that is shared already with the members of the channel. But no pressure, nothing there. It's just if it's something that's just real bothering you, basically you just get inside information on it, but it's not going to make it available to you any sooner yet. But actually, it will. So yeah. No, Barry, it's going to be different. So it's kind of like a lot of the same people involved is going to look the same. A lot of the contents are going to look the same, but the exterior is going to be completely different, right? So it's like you took off your Iron Man costume and put on a Spider-Man costume, or you just took off the Iron Man costume and you just ass naked now. Would be the other way to look at it. So it should be something like that. Prefix will be a great product, and this is one of the ones. So somebody asked me a question earlier, and I'll kind of start talking about this. They were talking about how if your turf grass is already established, does root pruning herbicides still prune roots? And the answer to that is yes. It's non-selective. DNAs are going to be non-selective in the sense that they're going to have some capacity of root pruning that takes place regardless of the age of the turf. Now, over time, maybe turf becomes resistant to the root pruning effects in some instances. Other times, it doesn't. And what you just start with is during that, you are so accustomed to growing turf in a reduced root capacity that you're not quite sure what's going to happen if you did have a maxed out root system through it. And, there's kind of some anecdotal stuff that goes in of, well, have you ever put a lawn on a post-emergent only program or kept it off a pre-emergent program in favor of doing some other things to help trying to control some weeds? And there are some nerds out there, like there's some old turf people in my world that they were real big on, particularly on fescue, believe it or not. On fescue, they never wanted pre-emergent on fescue. And the whole reason was they felt like it performed better further into the season because you weren't dealing with a pruned root system. So yes, Barry, yes. Because I designed all of those products. And so I will keep that because that is my design. That's my chemistry. Mine and John Borden's. So that's how that would go. So anyway, I thought I kind of plug that prefix product there because I'm not really seeing a whole lot of specific lawn questions coming in, but. The whole premise there, basically, we're using lots of inputs that are going to be very small, that have very, very high foliar uptake rates, right? So these particular inputs, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of it. When the label comes out, you can take a look at the label and try and put it together. I'm not going to go through the depths of the label right now. Because I would like the opportunity to put it on the market first before I start detailing every single ingredient at what rates is in it. So give me that opportunity first before I just completely blow it all out of the water and tell the secrets that I use. But we're using lots of very, very, very fine particle-sized materials, multiple ones. And using that as a stable suspension to carry specific biostimulants into the tissue of the plant to basically force the growth of the root system beyond the detriment of the pre-emergent, if that makes sense. And there's lots of little different pieces that this was put together. So it's not a single product. This is a multifaceted product. And like I said, if you've been paying attention on all the different social media pages and stuff, you've probably seen the post that I put up. I pulled it down just until we finish with everything on our end as far as registrations and all that fun stuff and building out, pricing structures and also building some inventory too, because this stuff has to be made and it takes a minute to be made. There's some reactions that take place in there and that takes time for that to happen. So there you go. that is going to be the big new release. That email kind of deal will be going out tomorrow. At some point, no, it will not be going out. It's possible it would be going out tomorrow. I can't say with 100%, but at least one day this week, that information will be going out. And if you would like to sign up to receive that information, of course, you can go to subvertmpk.com and fill out the contact form. And you will be, or at least even the form on the first page there, and you will be entered into the email database, and you will receive that email, including pricing and all that stuff when it is available. Of course, if you are a member of the higher end of whatever it is on the YouTube community thing, that product will be available to you first. So no, this is going to be very early spring, like within the next 30 days, Bermuda Brian. So that's kind of where we are. We have been doing a lot of work, offline. And again, kudos to John Borden, and Carson Bone, for making all this reality, because without them, I probably would not have had the mental stamina to get to this point. But the fact that we have gotten to this point is just, I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle. One day, I promise, I will be writing a book about this, because it just doesn't even make sense of how everything all it falls together, falls apart, and then comes together again to fall apart and come together again. So, what do you do? All right, now we're starting to get some good questions in now. So let's go ahead and kind of flip the topic over to these. So Lord of Junk said, Armada versus the Propiconazole Azoxy tank mix, both a combo of Group 3 and 11. Any advantages to using Armada? Yes, the DMI that is in that, and I'm drawing a blank on what the Zol is in that. Hang on, Armada, I believe is it trifloxysulfuron? Let me look this up real quick, because it's escaping me. I have been knee deep in the world of white papers and not really looking a whole lot at herbicides here over the last month or so. Yeah, tridimifon and trifloxystrobin. So, so tridimifon is probably not as strong of a growth retardant that propiconazole would be. So probably a little bit less summertime risk to applying this than you would be with propiconazole, especially an oil-based propiconazole. That can be a bit problematic. So basically that's, did I say trifloxysulfuron? I meant trifloxystrobin is what I don't know. Right. You got me confused in here. Yes. So exactly, Telly, especially in situations like that. So that's one of the things we've started doing now is looking at reclamation type uses, where if it is over applied, what kind of rates are required to counteract the over application rates of a DNA herbicide? I don't know the answers to that, but that is one thing I've definitely been looking at, because kind of the hard part there is that at what point does it become non-selective and take it all out? So there we go. I'll tell you this, Lord of Junk, Ray, who's in the chat right here, he's the Green Doc of Hawaii. Huge fan of Armada, really enjoys Armada. Now, the one kind of caveat to Armada, and this is just based on what I hear from people, I have not sprayed a lot of Armada over my lifetime. I probably have sprayed 10 pounds of Armada in my entire life. But that being said, I would not, everything I have seen and the little bit of experience I have, I feel like I did not quite get as much time. And it may only be a few days shorter, but I feel like I just didn't get quite as much residual out of Armada as I did out of propiconazole azoxystrobin. But that could be purely a psychosomatic thing going on in my head too. I have been prone to have those types of issues as well. So it's important to keep that at least somewhat in the back of your mind. And so really at this point, there's without a doubt, you'll see it on all the descriptions of fungicides and stuff. So if you're looking at like the NC State turf files or whatever the case may be, you'll see it does have very high efficacy. And I think I'm trying to go off memory here, but I think on the NC State turf files for brown patch, you're only seeing a 21-day residual on Armada, but I don't know. I'm going off memory here. So I would look into that, and I'll tell you this, but you can't go wrong using it as part of your fungicide program. So I would test it out and see how it works for you and your climate and your turf and your lawns compared to propiconazole and azoxystrobin. Let's see, where are we going? Isn't snow cover really good for the lawn, cool season grass, Jersey grass style? Izzy, I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Jersey grass style, but is snow cover good for the lawn? Potentially, I guess if you're trying to protect it from like desiccating force winds, right? So high winds over the winter that has the ability to dehydrate the lawn and upper layer of the soil, then I would say yes, in that instance, it could serve as a protective barrier. But if it's just dormant and you're not really experiencing any kind of weather extremes outside of that, it's not really going to offer you anything just exceptionally beneficial for having snow cover. So, yeah, there you go. With fungicide apps on tall fescue, is it more useful to use a surfactant to spread the liquid on the foliage or an MSO to get it into the plant? Well, David, it's going to vary based on the active ingredient and what the manufacturers are putting into the tank. The label will make a recommendation whether to use a surfactant or a penetrant or something of the sort. And if it is not on the label, chances are it already exists as part of the formulation in the can, and that's why they do not make that recommendation. And thus, it would not increase efficacy to add that to that active ingredient because it's already part of the formulation. So I would consult with your label in that type of scenario because your label will give you more clues as to how that was formulated and whether or not you actually need it, because it can help in different ways like that. What's up, Grace? How are you? God is good. Where am I? Using a brown bag to stop hyperventilating. Good job. Blushy. Good job. I'm glad you caught it in the nick of time. Let's see. Do not hyperventilate. Let's see here. Could prefix be an all the time fix? If it's a hella good root growth stimulant, I want that all year round. Yeah, it is, but there's easier ways to do it, I guess, that do not require the significance of the individual inputs that are in there. But this is kind of another one of those other things. I've been playing with it and trying to do some other things with some other inputs on a very, very small scale like that to see how it responds in the plant. And so it's potential has some other kind of trade-off uses there, but it's hard for me to get into it yet because I'm still trying to wrap my brain around it and figure out how to keep those suspensions stable. We'll leave it at that. Site one is, I'm saying if you like mix it with other things. So I'm talking like mixing it with fertilizers and stuff like that. And I'm not, yes, you can. It is miscible with a fertilizer, but I'm talking about taking that same technology that we use in Prefix and then applying that to a fertilizer to make it have higher availability foliarly as well. RBL Jack, look at Ray chiming in here. Green Doc owns more fungicides than the rest. He doesn't. He's very selective about what he carries. He goes after the ones that are most effective for him. John Teague said, Matt, why is my lawn the most dominant in Knoxville? I don't know. Probably because you put the most amount of money and effort into it would be my guess. I'm just saying. Let's see here. Timmy Bluegrass said, Matt, is there a per gallon amount you would recommend for using D10 Plus or MFT on shrubs? More broadly, have you tested peptides on shrub flowers or any other ornamentals? Ornamentals, no. But other dicots, yes. Crops, yes. And again, it's around that 32 ounces per acre. With MFT, you could probably go a little bit higher. You could probably safely go like up to 1 gallon an acre, so 3 ounces per 1,000 square feet. But you're not spraying shrubs in the same way. So what I would do is just say as a general flat rule is I would half it, right? So if you got I would start at like 1 ounce per gallon, something like that. Make your application at around there. Or maybe even a ½ ounce per gallon. Start there and then work your way up. I'll give you an example, like on soybeans and corn. We 32 ounces per acre is about where we go. With the MFT, we've gone higher on corn, not quite as the increasing rates on soybeans wasn't really doing a whole lot for us. And it was kind of interesting. We specifically had really good response mixing it with herbicides in spring. So making a glyphosate application or making a dicamba application or something, we had great results mixing either the D10 or the MFT with those herbicides, and the amount of injury that occurred to the plant, kind of unavoidable injury, secondary injury, collateral damage that occurred, we saw much less of it, and actually pretty significant response from the weeds as well, more so than we expected to see based off just in herbicide surfactant application alone. So, no, not specifically ornamentals. Yes, other dicots. Look, the hook is back. I didn't know grass was so popular. I think I'm on the wrong business. Man, I'm telling you, lawn care is one of those things. And the hook, man, I'll tell you, there is an Australian YouTube guy, and his name is Ben, and his channel is called Lawn Tips. I'm going to throw it in the chat right here, and check it out, man. He is a professional turf grass manager in Australia. Works the golf and obviously does lots of fun things with his yard too. Puts golf greens in and all kinds of fun stuff right there in his front yard. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's a good little foray, and he keeps things simple. I wouldn't say it's so simple. It doesn't. He's not trying to appeal to people that are looking for top 5 lists, so to speak, but he keeps it simple enough that even a beginner can follow along and employ a lot of the practices that he puts into practice there. So shout out to Ben Sims, who actually won my YouTube channel of the year this year. I think he does just an absolute phenomenal job. John Teague over here was talking trash with his TIF Grand, man. Not everybody can have TIF Grand, John Teague. Not everybody can have TIF Grand. This guy over here. But I tell you, John, there's a reason why you have TIF Grand. It's because you work hard for what you got, sir. I know you, and I know you relatively personally well, and I know you work hard, sir. Ben is also a Bowling Green guy. That is right. He is, as is Ray. Under high disease pressure, you need a 14-day application interval. Anyway, okay, reverting back to Armada. Armada is not a curative for brown patch. Alliette plus ProStar if brown patch is bad. Let's see. I have used it specifically for brown patch in cool season turf, and I had no issues with that. It definitely worked as a curative. It was not as long lasting. I'll say that. RBL Jackson said, I did a few citric applications to my yard last fall as a test to reduce soil pH values. Can I add citric acid to my February prodiamine application, or does it need to be kept as a standalone app? So you can add that as an app. One thing I would be careful is that make sure you have complete control over that being irrigated. Pre-emergent, specifically something like prodiamine, is actually going to play really well with an acidified spray tank. Because you're going to be buffering out a lot of calcium and magnesium in your water that can cause some issues. Any kind of high pH and herbicides, as a generalized rule of thumb, this is not a set in stone, has to be this, it's always true, but as a generalized rule of thumb, high calcium levels, high pH products do not play well with herbicides. It's just a potential. My wife is in here. Happy New Year, Sami. So that being said, if you're acidifying your spray solution with something like citric acid, all of those excess carbonates you have in your water will react, or at least some of them will react over to citrate versions, which are now salt-soluble compounds, right? So calcium citrate will be soluble in water to a degree. And is no longer going to be as have as much of a reactive influence on your herbicides. Does that make sense? Does that help? I hope that helps. Ray said right here, keep it at no more than 32 ounces per acre of area covered, 1 teaspoon per gallon, 4 gallons per 1,000 square feet. Hiya! Is it possible to kill turf grass around elephant ear plants without harming them? St. Augustine around a bunch of about 10 plants. Yes. Oh, look, Ray jumped in right there and said that Fusilade or Sethoxidem would be good. Yeah, and one of the ones, like, you can kill St. Augustine real easy with quinclorac. But remember, quinclorac can have some 2,4-D-like symptoms, and actually will control broadleaf weeds. So you got to be careful with it. Like, that's one of those things where I think, oh man, it's quinclorac. I'm just gonna spray a little quinclorac, and then all of a sudden you start taking out something like an elephant ear. So I like that recommendation of Fusilade or Sethoxidem in lieu of something like quinclorac. But of course, you could always do some glyphosate applications too, and you'd be all right there as well. Just don't spray the elephant ear itself. Best practice to bring Zoysia out of dormancy. Looking to mow low. Do I scalp Zoysia after last chance of frost Nashville area? Yes, Mark, you're exactly right. So whatever our final frost day is here, I'm in East Tennessee, you're in Nashville, so I'd say it's going to be somewhere around mid-April time frame for you, is where you're like free and clear, being out of the frost potential, even though we had one in May this year, which sucked. Scalp it. That's going to be the first thing you want to do. Scalp it, collect those clippings, discard them, burn them, whatever you want to do. But yes, scalp it is the absolute first thing you want to do. Then you can start maintaining it at your desired height of cut. High pH and metsulfuron. Methyl gets squirrely as well. Squirrel count. Count it. You're exactly right, because higher pH spray solutions and higher pH soils specifically are going to increase the soil duration of metsulfuron methyl, also known as MSM. Then that can be a very bad news thing, because that could be a 7-month thing that you're having to deal with. And if you have oak trees, that can be a doubly bubbly problem that you have there. So just be careful. And this is one of those things where I think it's important. If you are choosing to make an herbicide application, go ahead and look into the characteristics of that herbicide and the stability of that herbicide with your tank mix companions that you're going to be spraying it with. So, for instance, if you're going out with something that is going to have a spray solution of something like a 10 or an 11, and that's going to be like your fertilizer or whatever, which I'm not really sure which fertilizer is going to have a pH of 10 or 11. Maybe a thiosulfate would be alkaline enough to do that, like a potassium thiosulfate. Or if you're spraying like straight potassium hydroxide, you may have an even higher pH, like a 12 or a 14 or something. And then for whatever reason, you need to make a post-emergent application of, you're very welcome, SVT Bill 89. By the way, if you were born in 89, it's not a bad year. I'm 86. Nor when I see that, that's immediately what I go to. So I would just be careful and look at what the characteristics of your products are over a range of pHs and understand what can happen there. Because especially if you're using something that's very reactive too, because you can just create so many different problems and make so many different smaller reactions out of that by just willy-nilly mixing things. This is why when you hear the phrase jar test, jar test, jar test, jar test, jar test, jar test, just jar test. Do it. Make it a part of your thing. That if you're going to put together a tank mix, go get a small cup and just add just little bits of whatever it is you're going to be spraying in there. Mix them together and make sure there is no chemical reaction that takes place. You may feel it start to get hot. You may see it putting a vapor. It may turn into a solid mass. All of these things can potentially happen, and all of these things. And if you're doing a jar test, make sure you're outside. Make sure you're not in your bathroom or something, mixing this up, trying to. An 89 SVT Mustang. That's a good one. I didn't think about that, Kevin. Make sure you're not in your bathroom just whipping these things up, trying to hide them from your wife or whatever, because she's going to be mad that you spent another $120 on something. Because if there is a chemical reaction, the last thing you need is to lose all your oxygen while you're in a small enclosed area like that, and then you die. All of those are very real realities because we're talking about pesticides here. And there is a lot of chemistry that goes into the formulation of these. Even when we're talking about fertilizers, there is a lot of chemistry and potential reactivity that can take place with all the fertilizers we have at our disposals. So it's important. It's very important. Take it outside, do a small jar test, make sure everything mixes together. And if it does, great. No big deal. 90% of the time, it will be no big deal. The 10% of the time, it is a big deal. It's going to be horrific what ends up happening. And I'm not saying from a death perspective. I'm saying it's going to be horrific that you could ruin a pump. You can ruin your sprayer. And you're going to ruin it to the point where it ain't coming back. You're going to develop a solid in your hose that cannot be dug out. You're going to 70% of the time, every time. It's going to react in your diaphragm or whatever and break apart a piece of steel or something. I mean, it's nutty what you can see happen on the inside of with some of these reactions. I'll give you an example. Back in the day, this was the first time I ever experienced this firsthand. And this is why I'm preaching the importance of jar testing here. I was trying to shortcut my way through a day because I knew I had to go backpack a relatively large area with a combination of 2,4-D and another herbicide that is no longer available on the market, but it's monosodium methaarsenate. And so to save time, I mixed these two in a bottle and went on about my day. And when I got there and I opened up this bottle, it had congealed into this solid mass. I mean, literally a solid mass that no longer was malleable or flowable, and the whole thing had to be tossed. So as just a general rule of thumb, jar test. I don't mean to get all preachy here, but I'm telling you right now, you should jar test. If it's not a part of what you do, start doing it. Matt Scott has a new fert, Ultra Feed. that says it uses Scott's Secure Nutrients, a patented particle that releases nutrients as your lawn needs them, which helps one feeding last up to 6 months. 6 months of nitrogen release from one app seems like an exceptionally long time. Is this any kind of breakthrough or just a lot of fancy marketing for a basic polymer coating? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle of that, Timmy. So in one... yeah, what, Dad? Wassenauer knows. Yeah, you're exactly right. That was not a failed jar test when I burned down my shed. That was just me being an idiot when I burned down my shed. So I'll have to look into this and see what exactly it is, and if it's patented, that's great because the patent should be available for me to read. Here's the thing: is that with a 6-month feed, right? So say you perform a climate appraisal form. And if you are interested in getting into the climate appraisal form and performing a climate appraisal form to see what kind of nutrient demand you're going to have over a period of time, I posted this on the Grass Factor Facebook page. You can go over there. You're going to see a link to my post. And wait, let me make sure. It should be pinned to the top. There it goes. Yes, it is. And this is a program planner. It should be pinned at the top. And this will kind of give you your first foray into the what do you want to call it? The climate appraisal form and understanding what your nutrient demand is going to be month by month. I put a direct link to it too on the Subvert website if you just prefer to go there. I have it behind an email. Just so that way, you're signing away your life that if you use this and use it maliciously or end up causing damage to your yard or something, I'm not liable for it. So that's why I do that. Plus, I'm going to send you an email and tell you about updates we have coming up. Anyway, I digress. So if you are trying to cover 6 months, so say you have a Bermuda lawn, right? And you know, based on your climate appraisal form, you're going to need from April until, April, May, June, July, August, September. We know over those 6 months, hey, dog, unnecessary, sir. Unnecessary, brother. I appreciate you. Happy New Year. And so over that 6-month period, you may need, we'll say, 4.25 pounds of nitrogen over that time period. Okay, you can apply your Scott Secure that's going to release over 6 months, but it's not going to take away the fact that your nitrogen demand is still going to be close to that 4.25. Now, you may have some enhanced efficiency taking place there where, 4.25 is going to act more like 4. And so you only need to apply 4 pounds of N over that time period instead of 4.25 kind of deal. Okay. You still have to apply that 4 pounds. So you can apply it, but you are going to have to spend that money and apply it all at one time because it needs to release over that 6 months, right? Because over that 6 months, you're going to need still the same amount of fertilizer. That is not going to change. Whether you apply it every week, whether you apply it every other day, whether you apply it once a month, every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks, every 12 weeks, every 16 weeks, every 6 months, you still are going to have the same nutrient demand over the same, assuming, depending on your weather pattern, you're going to have that same nutrient demand, right? According to your temperatures. So just because you got something that releases 6 months doesn't mean it's necessarily doing any favors for you, right? It may be doing some favors for you that you can go apply it really heavy. But here's the thing. You can apply 6 months of nitrogen at one time that'll release over 6 months. But can you do that with phosphorus? Yeah, debatable. Yeah. Can you do it with potassium? No. Even our best polymer-coated potassiums are not going to release for 6 months. Even if you are getting a duration 180, the release on that maybe is going to be at 120 days. Maybe. And I don't even know if they do a duration 180 on a potassium. They might do it on potassium sulfate. I don't know for sure. So that's where therein lies the problem. That's great, and that's kick-ass that they've got that technology. There are certain instances where that is an exceptional positive thing. And think about it for golf, and you're trying to manage labor costs or whatever, and you don't have the budget to be able to make 5 applications due to labor constraints. But if you took all the labor it took in those 5 applications and you could condense it into 1 application, it may make sense monetarily to throw it all out there at one time and be done with it. Now, the majority of people who are going to be watching this live show right now are not the kind of people that want to make a single application and make it last for 6 months. There's a lot more hands-on-zy kind of thing that just occurs with people that take more of a professional approach to it. And that's understandable. So there's a certain amount of control when you are managing biological processes as complex as plants are. The amount of control you assert over these biological processes, the more predictable things are. When you're basically giving away 6 months of who knows what can happen, you're giving up a lot of control, and you're opening up the possibility for a lot of accidental happenings to take place. So I think about it from the standpoint of me being a lawn applicator. If I go and put out a 6-month product and say, I'm not going to go back for 4 months. I go back 4 months later, and the lawn is just absolutely eat up with weeds. And I'm like, I don't understand. I put down my pre-emergent, and now I'm eat up with weeds. And you start looking at it, and it's all American burnweed, and it's fescue. And I couldn't apply Spectacle. I had to apply Prodiamine or Dimension or Dithipir or whatever the case may be. And that's not going to help me against my American burnweed. And then what do I do? Yeah, I'm scratching my head. But I got the fertilizer piece right, but I screwed up the weed control piece right. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I actually think it's super cool, and I want to look into it, and I do want to know how it differs. And I promise you, Timmy, I will get into way too deep on that product. I will get super deep on it and understand exactly how that works, because I think that's great, and I think no matter what anybody thinks Scott's reputation is, what Scott's does for the green industry is a great thing. It's scary sometimes. It's scary because they are a big company. And with those big companies, they can do some things that make it real hard for small companies. But I have to say, I've never had a negative experience with Scott's, and I know a select number of small businesses that have business dealings with Scott's, and all tell me positive things about working with Scott's, and talk to me about positive things when it comes to quality control that Scott's enacts over their product line. So I can't hate on it. And so while it could be a great piece of marketing, there probably is some real technology there too. I'm here finally after finishing up brewing. It's a fun hobby, but kind of a pain too. Yeah, that's beyond what I would like to get into right now. I do enough fertilizer brewing. I don't know if I could get into beer brewing on top of it. When is the best time to treat my lawn for brown patch? So Eric, it depends on your turf type, right? So I'm going to assume you have cool season grass, because if I do remember correctly, you are somewhere in the Northeast. But as a general rule of thumb, what you're looking for is higher humidity. So we'll say humidity levels over 50%. And you're looking for temperatures over 85 during the day and over 60 degrees at night. And if you string 5 of those together with high humidity during the day, you can bet your ass you are more than likely going to be facing brown patch, and you want to apply a preventative fungicide prior to the outbreak of that brown patch. But as a general rule of thumb, for cool season grass only, this does not apply to large patch and warm season grass. This is cool season grass only. Over 85 during the day, over 60 at night, 5 consecutive days with humidity. What's the best advice as far as getting started again before the first fertilization this season, upcoming season for Jersey? Real simple. I mean, I think this is just as one thing to do is just go ahead and get a soil test and see exactly where you're starting the year. See exactly where you are starting. That way, if you have to do something like lime, I see your next question here. Do trees suck in a lot of lime? In other words, will it cause big pH drop where there are a lot of trees? No, that's a myth. But see, for instance, go ahead and pull a soil test and see, do I need to make a lime application? Or you may see, oh, I've got a pH of 7.2. I don't need to do crap as far as lime is concerned. Or you may see, oh, I've got a pH of 7.7. 7.7. So there we go. The other thing would be, I think that in most simple terms are the easiest things. That is the easiest thing to go ahead and get started, because with that piece of information, that piece of data, you can make calculated decisions that are going to set you up for a wild degree of success over the upcoming season. Do trees suck in a lot of lime? No, that's not how that works. Lime will react with excess hydrogen in the soil. So basically when you apply a carbonate, right, it's tying up excess hydrogen in the soil. The excess hydrogen in the soil is what contributes to the pH of the soil. So if you have excess hydrogen in the soil, you have an acidic soil. If you have excess carbonates in the soil, you have a high pH soil. So trees are not going to directly use any of the lime being carbonates in this instance. Now, where you start to see this is that, oh, well, I've got pine needles, and pine needles drop and they create acidity in the soil. Well, yes and no. It's potential they can. Are they always going to? Not necessarily. I've seen plenty of soils underneath pine trees that are at a cool 6.5 all day long and have been under pine trees for a long time, decades. So it's not always the case that all trees will create acidic soil conditions. That is a myth. Take all the fun out of the jar test. That's right. Entomosporium leaf spot on Indian hawthorns. Any recommendations? I have a hedgerow that continues to deteriorate every year. Application plan for the upcoming year. See, I don't know. Look, Bray made the suggestion of Armada chlorothalonil. I was going to say chlorothalonil just because that's kind of my go-to when it comes to trees and shrubs. If chlorothalonil doesn't get it, I don't know. I scratch my head. But that is what I would do. Entomosporium leaf spot. Is that what I call fire blight on Entomosporium? Let me see what this looks like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I swear it is every Indian hawthorn out there across America suffers from this at one point through the growing season. Just saying. Drives me bananas. All right, let's get here. Let's keep going. What's up, Super TA? How are you, good sir? Mr. Martinez says, I am building a new house. My builder's proposal includes hydroseeding. Thoughts on hydroseeding? I live in the Midwest. So I like hydroseeding. I think it's great. It's a great way to get things started. The one thing you want to make sure of is that they're using the clean seed that you would want to have as a nice lawn. So a lot of times you have to remember these hydroseeders, the majority of what they're going to be doing, I say the majority, and that's not true. That's a broad brushstroke for me, and it's just not true. Some hydroseeders do work on slope stabilization, and so they'll go and blow varieties of different weeds all over hillsides, like vetch and clovers, things that are going to help stabilize slopes. And what you want to make sure is that none of that gets passed on to your lawn. So I would make sure, I would try and get some sort of statement of confidence from this guy, if not in writing, which I would say that's a little risky because you can still have weeds in the yard even though he didn't spray it in there. And I would probably just hand select the seed that he hydroseeds with. If you're in the Midwest, kind of pick your poison there. Do you want Kentucky bluegrass, or do you want tall fescue, or do you want tall fescue and Kentucky bluegrass, and have your little heart's desire hydroseeding it? Yes, by all means. It's very effective. It's protected seed. Now, I wouldn't go letting them putting the idea that it's a good idea to seed now. At this point that we're in January, I'd go ahead and wait until we have a stretch of warm days in the spring and then hydroseed. Then not do it now. I'll give you an example. I was at a place in north of me. I was in southern Indiana, and it was very recently. And they had a new building that was constructed, and they just hydroseeded the side of it. And I can tell it was one of those things where probably the general contractor was like, just get it done, get it hydroseeded, to hell with it, just be done with it. And over the course of several trips over a few months, guess how much of it has come up since, October? It was later than that. It was maybe like November 15th. Since November 15th, guess how much has come up? Zero. Will it eventually? Some of it will. But if he would have waited till spring, it would have all come up and it'd be covered by now, is my point. So, we're just kind of leave it at that. Lawn Journeys actually said the same thing. I would insist on picking the seed or supplying it. There you go. What happens when a hurricane floods your lawn 3 months into your 6-month nitrogen app? That's a good point. Depending on what it is, there is potential. Now, yes, you have a hurricane-like flood, but if it's been down for 3 months, chances are, regardless of it still being in prill form, a lot of that has likely latched on pretty tightly inside your soil. Also, you got to remember, if you take fertilizer prills and drop them in water, they are more dense than water, so they're going to float to the bottom. And so probably in this instance too, you're not going to lose as much as you would think. You would think, now, if it was a soluble product that went into it, that was soil stable and was solubilized, went in the soil and was soil stable, you would lose all of that, but you're not going to see any soil stable, soluble fertilizer last 3 months or 6 months, maybe 45, maybe 60 days at the most. You catch the timing of a UMAX application just right, you might get 3 months out of it, maybe. What are they hydroseeding with? Yep, that's the other one there. Can you post the link to the Discord chat? I haven't been able to get in there. Wow, did something change? No, it's the same thing. Go to thelawndiscord.com. Thelawndiscord.com. Labor is often small money compared to a slow release product that actually works, speaking from a pro standpoint. That is very, very true. Labor is always the cheaper part of the equation. Let's see, where am I? No, he is not, Ray. RBL Jackson is one of the good ones. Eric Von Waddell has St. Augustine. Yep, totally not in the Northeast at all. You were talking about brown patch timing. So you are going to want to make your applications prior to the cooling off temperature, right? So if you're looking at your growth percent chart, I would say as you see that you are trending below 60% growth potential, then I would go ahead and make my application of preventative fungicide. 50% is probably closer, but has 60% growth potential. Again, this is taking data from the Climate Appraisal Forum. As you're trending towards 60, going ahead and making that application would probably be your best bet. And that may be even low. That's something, Ray and I should do a whole segment on that and talk about those temperatures of what exactly 60% looks like and how that will end up working out as far as disease control. That's a good one there that we could really, really dive deep into. Best insights on a Blue Muta yard overseed on Bermuda lawn. It's one of those things that this is going to sound a little crazy, and by all means, you do not have to follow it, but a light application of tenacity to suppress your Bermuda grass before seeding your Kentucky bluegrass will probably be my recommendation, just to help give that starting chance to the bluegrass. Now, you have to remember, when you're doing Bermuda, you're looking for not uniform Kentucky bluegrass throughout. It's going to be a commingling interspecies kind of deal there with some give and take. So, Ray, to the subject of the show would be determining predictive-based brown patch applications, preventative brown patch applications, utilizing the Climate Appraisal Forum based on growth probability and date of application to prevent brown patch in warm season turf. How about that?
Scam alert.
I don't know what we're scam alerting, but we're going to go ahead and do that. So, but if you're trying to get your Kentucky bluegrass kicked off or something like that, look, Ray said the same thing. Bleach it with tenacity or Pylex, then seed your Kentucky bluegrass. And depending on the state of dormancy of your Bermuda grass, if it's still relatively actively growing, maybe get away with like verticutting or something like that. Slit seeding is going to be, you could probably do it. You could probably do it, but I would say you would want to do that kind of in the spring before the Bermuda has. I don't know, but I wouldn't be attempting a Bermuda yard in the spring. I would be doing that in the fall for sure. And I don't know if I'd be verticutting in the fall. So I don't know. Take that back. Yeah. I would probably just seed into it. Maybe rake it or something prior to. Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth on it there. I wish my pine trees created a pH drop. There we go. Another case in point. Is there a difference between sewer sludge, phosphorus, and what's in most granulars? Yes. So typically, what you're seeing in sewage sludge is going to be, hang on. What is the active ingredient? I am drawing a blank of what that is. Hang on. I'm looking it up. Here. It is magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate. Okay. And that is primarily the active ingredient of the phosphorus that is in sewage sludge. And most of the time, the way that's being collected is it's kind of a scale from the byproduct of it, but basically a magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate is the active ingredient. Yes, that is different. Typically, what you're seeing in fertilizers, if it is a cheap fertilizer, you're likely seeing DAP, diammonium phosphate. A little different. Higher solubility. In my opinion, a better product than magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate. But that's kind of debatable. I do not have a lot of experience with specifically magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate. I want to try it, but there's not enough of it on the market right now. It is in higher demand than is able to be manufactured right now. So, and then kind of the Cadillac as you start moving into Cadillac forms of phosphorus, you have potassium phosphate, like monopotassium phosphate or dipotassium phosphate, MKP, DKP, are going to be good ones. And also monoammonium phosphate. So there you go as well. All of those are going to be soluble, which is a good thing because that means faster bioavailability to the plant. But the caveat there is that it can also react with other things in the soil, like calcium or iron or manganese or magnesium or whatever the case may be. All of those can react with your phosphorus and tie it up. Now, the plant can still go find it, but what was readily available is no longer readily available, and the plant is going to have to put some effort into it. So yes, there is. Now, Ray was talking about the solubility. That's the thing. The magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate is not very soluble at all. That's why it exists as scale in these manufacturing processes. You'll even see it in digesters, right? So people that are running like food digesters and stuff, they pull this magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate out, and it is not very soluble, and thus it has like a slow release effect. But the problem is that if you need it now, you're not going to get it now. It has to go through its mineralization process in order to become available. I hope that helps. Use Agravos or Reliant for fire blight. Yeah, Reliant is a good one right there. I haven't heard Reliant in a long time. It's the old injection game. What are you shooting up? Some phos acid. I think that would be Agravos. My neighbor was complaining just today about his hawthorns dying. I've had good success with 3336 and Daconil on my hawthorns. I would say that would be a good, Daconil's chlorothalonil. It's so broad spectrum. It's a good one. Phosphites have activity on bacterial diseases. Minimal activity on diseases other than Pythium and Phytophthora. Make sure they don't do erosion control or you will get bad seed left behind. There we go. Is there a formula or recommendation for pounds of lime per 1,000 square feet to apply when increasing soil pH? I was 5.8 last spring, did an app. We'll be retesting this spring. Not sure it is that cut and dry. No, it's not, because it depends on the lime buffering capacity of your soil. So depending on the lime buffering capacity of your soil will determine what the rate per 1,000 square feet will need to be to move your soil from 5.8 to whatever it is you want to move it to, probably around like a 6.5 or something. And the lime buffering capacity has to be determined in the lab. It's not something I can just tell you. There's not a general rule of thumb of what it's going to be. I know it won't completely vanish, but what are the chances of zoysia planted sod squares overtaking common Bermuda yard to be the prominent grass there? Not likely. What you're going to see is that some years the zoysia is going to do very good, and other years you'll see the Bermuda doing very good, and then there'll be kind of this weird kind of give and take. Ray said zoysia will probably take over the neighborhood. In my experience, what I have seen is that typically Bermuda takes over at first, and then over a period of years and years and years, that's where you'll kind of hit that equilibrium. Now, I live in a part of the country where zoysia goes completely dormant. And when it does go completely dormant, we typically still have enough cold weather to knock it back certain years, more so than it does the Bermuda. So that's why you'll see kind of this resurgence of Bermuda, and then zoysia, and then Bermuda, and then zoysia is kind of the way I see it work, at least where I'm at. Now, where you are, your mileage may vary. All right, everybody. I want to appreciate you all for tuning in tonight. I had a damn good time. Good seeing you. Ray and I are going to have another Pick the Doc's Brain coming up soon. We can talk about these options here, but if you have specific questions that you want Ray and I to get into. We don't care how deep the chemistry. We don't care how deep the biology, whatever it is. Feel free to shoot me an email at thegrassfactor@gmail.com, or you can use the contact form at thegrassfactor.net. Super easy. Submit a question there for Pick the Doc's Brain, and when we go on, we'll discuss it high and hard and heavy. Deep, baby, deep. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Y'all all have a fantastic new year and get ready to kick 2021's ass. I'm talking to you, Lushy. I'm talking to you. See ya.
Jordan.